Hi everyone, welcome back in the second part of the full stack user management application. So if you haven't seen the first part, so I highly recommend to watch the first video first. You will find in the description below the link to the first video. And so I'm going to show you very quickly the demo of the application, what we are trying to build. So as you can see, this is the final project is deployed, and it is a full stack project. We're using convex as a database, and also we're using Typescript, Tailwind CSS, ShadCN, and other libraries like Zod, React Hook Form for validation. And so this is what we built so far. So just a quick presentation. As you can see, this is the main page. And also we have this. When I click on it, we're going to have a new dialog to be able to actually go or search for the users. And if I click on the user, so I can be able to edit it just from here. So this is the dialog. Here I can go to another route to see more information and also to actually access to other features like filtering and sorting and the pagination and searching. And so this is a quick presentation of the application. So I don't wanna make this too long. So and let's go back to the local 3000. And this is what where we stopped. So we created first our all the UI components, and we all know that the UI takes a lot of time when building any application with React. And we stopped at creating the dialog and adding all the necessary fields for the dialog. So we need to continue. So the next step, we are going to add the schema. So we're going to use Zod and React Hook Form. So Zod to be able to create the schema and React Hook Form to handle the errors and to track the fields that we're having in here uh, with the schema that we created by Zod. So let's go back to VS Code and here in the user dialog form um, folder. So I'm going to create a new file. So I'm going to call it user schema.ts, and I'm going to paste the whole schema. So I'm going to explain very quickly what the code does and what it is. So here, as you can see, we're going to create a new locations array. And so we are going to map through each user. And since the user has the location property, so we're going to store all the locations in the locations state, which or variable or constant, which is an array of strings. So here we're having the full name, the email, the location, the permission, and the join date. So it matches. So we need to have 5 elements since we have 5 fields, and then we're gonna infer this type and store it inside the dialog schema because this we are going to use it in the use hook form. So now what we're going to do after we created our schema, we're going to go to the user dialog form. So this is where we are going to create add the use form hook. So I'm going to copy the hook form, the use form hook. So first I need to import the use form from React Hook Form library, and also we're going to import the dialog schema that we created, and we're gonna import dialog schema. So now as you can see, all the errors are gone. So this is our use form hook. So so what we're gonna do, so the use form hook we're going to create inside of it this object. So the resolver, it's going to be Zod resolver. So just to be able to connect use form hook with the Zod schema that we created. And also we are going to create inside the default values object all the elements that we defined in our schema. So that's why we added the dialog schema just to give some context to the hook, which are the properties that we're going to be using. Like for example, if I do this, I'm not going to have any other property, but if for example I do this, so uh, so it's not going to throw an error, but I'm not going to get the default value of it. So you will see the importance of adding the type to the use form hook when we start adding or actually linking the use form hook with all the inputs that we created. And we're going to start by the input fields. And the first one, we're going to start with the name input. So first I'm going to add this code. So this code, it means that we're going to use the use form context. So one thing that I want to show you in the use dialog form in the dialog one component. So if we access to it, and one thing that you need to know is how the context API works, because this is what the use hook form uses. So it uses its own context API. So the reason for this is to avoid using or avoid using the prompts, which can make the code a little bit hard to actually understand. So here, so I'm trying to actually find form provider. So I'm going to, so as you can see here, the form provider, so we are going to wrap our whole form content with the form provider. So we can be able to only access to all the elements in the use form hook from using the use form context by consuming this context. So this is basically how the context API works, and this is why we're going to use the use form context instead of using the prompts in each function, which can make the code a bit messy. So I'm going to import the use form context, and also I'm going to add the dialog schema just to give context to the use form context. And here in the input, I'm going to add register. And notice here, I can only access to the properties that I defined in the zone schema because we added the dialog schema type here. So I'm going to choose the full name. And then what I'm going to do, so instead of showing this error message, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to paste this code. So here we are going to access to the errors. So the errors object, that full name, that message. So if it is not undefined, then we can safely access to this part to show this message. So this is the first part. So we're going to do pretty much this step for all the fields, and we're going to do. So let's go to the second email input, the second field. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just copy this code. I'm going to do the same here. And so I think I need to import use form context and dialog schema. And I need to connect this input with React hook form. And this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to use the register method from React hook form library, and I'm going to choose the email. And also I'm going to do the same thing for the error. So let's go back to the full name input. So I'm going to just copy this code here and I'm going to paste it in here. And so instead of using the full name, I'm going to use email. So this is the power of using use hook form and Zod, because under the hood it uses TypeScript, of course, and it's going to make your code a lot safer, and also it's going to enhance your development experience, and also you will avoid a lot of bugs. Like having the IntelliSense, it's going to help you a lot. So once we completed the full name and the email input, so the second one that we are gonna tackle is the join date, and it's gonna be a slightly different than the full name and the email input, because we need to use what is called the controller from React Hook Form, and the code is gonna be a little bit different in the JSX. So what I'm gonna do, I'm going to like replace all of this. I'm gonna paste this code. So don't worry, I'm going to explain what I did. And here I'm going to import the controller object from the library, and we need to provide this control element. So to be able to do so, I'm going to add the use form context like this, and also I'm going to add the dialog schema. And the only element that we want is the control. So this is going to be linked to the control property of the controller. So the reason why we are using the controller here from the library, because this is a custom field. So it's not like the HTML uh, uh, elements like the input. So all you have to do is just to use the register, and it's going to track the input or the field. But for this, it's a bit custom because we're using the popover and we're using the calendar. So we are going to use the controller. So here we are going to render this component that we had previously, and the elements that are going to be changing. So instead of using the date and the set date, we're going to use the inner state within the controller object or the controller component. So for example, here we are going to use the field.value. And also we're going to use the field.value. So since, as you can see, it is a date, it has the same type with the state that we created up here. But as I said, it is internally. And of course, we are going to change the popover content. So the selected date, it's going to be assigned to the field.value instead of the selected date. And the same thing that we did here. So the only thing that we changed is the field that value with the date state that we created up here. So I'm going to delete this because there is no value to exist. And this is how we are going to create or hook the this date component or the join date component with the use form hook. And also we're going to do the same thing for the locations. So as you can see, it is a custom component. We're using the popover, and also we're going to use the controller object from the library to be able to hook it up with the use form hook. And this is what we're going to do. So here we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to get rid from this, and I'm going to paste this code. And we're going to do, we need the controller object from the library. And so I'm going to go back to this file. I'm going to copy this one, and I'm going to paste this one here. So we should, so the code should, so I should import the use form use form context, and also I need to import the dialog schema like this. So let me get rid from this part. And there you have it. So we did the same thing that I did for the join date. So we are going to render the popover inside the render function, and we're gonna actually link the controller with the location, which comes from the use form context. So and also the last one. So we're gonna do the same thing this for this element. So what I'm gonna do, I'm going to get rid from the select component, and I'm gonna paste this code. So the select component, again, it's gonna be inside the render function. So as I did for the other ones, so I need to import the controller object from the React hook form. So sorry guys, my PC is a little bit slow, so that's why it takes a bit of time to load some of the basic stuff like the IntelliSense. So again, I'm gonna copy this, so there's no need to have this one, and I'm gonna paste it in here. And also I need to delete this, so we're not gonna work with it since we're gonna work with the inner state of the controller object. And so this should go away. So we have all the fields ready to be used. And finally, I need to import again this use form context and the dialog schema like this. So now we hooked all the fields and the dialog with the use form hook. So now what we can do, so let me save all of these files. So let me close all of these files, sorry. And then we can go here. So now we can be able to test if all of these fields, like when we fill in all the fields, so we can test by adding a log to see the object in the console log, and this is what we're going to do. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy the onSubmit function. So this is the onSubmit function. So the type is going to be submit handler. And we're going to pass the dialog schema so we can only work with the dialog schema. And we're going to just log out the data. And then we're going to link the onSubmit function with the onSubmit property from the dialog1 component, dialog1 component, sorry. And then we are going to add this property, and it's going to be true. So because this dialog1 component handles the normal onSubmit function, but also the onSubmit function from React hook form. And finally, so since we're going to use React hook form, I need to link the methods property with the methods variable. And this is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to save the file. And then I'm going to go back to the application to actually see if everything is working. So I'm going to click on Add User. So if I click on New User, we should have the errors. So as you can see, all the errors that we defined in the result schema appears, meaning that everything is working fine. So I'm gonna open up the console log, and I'm gonna add some random stuff in the dialog like this. Let's choose a location, and we should see the uh, the, the object. So this is the object. So it means that everything is working fine. So we successfully linked the use form hook with our dialog by using its own internal context API. And now we can be able to see the errors and to track all the elements that we have in our dialog successfully. So after we successfully added the use hook form or the use form hook in the dialog, so the thing that we are going to add is uh, how we will know that the user will be added or modified. And so this is the logic that we are going to be adding. So first thing first, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to go to the hooks folder, and then I'm going to create use selected user.js. So I'm going to paste the code here. So we're going to use we're going to use Zustent for the state management. And here we are creating this use select user. Uh, so basically what we are going to do, we are going to rely on the select user to know if we are going to create a new user or not. So if it is null, it means that we're going to create a new users. Otherwise, if there is an object assigned to it, mean that we're going to modify the user. So we used it inside Zustand because we're gonna use this across many components in our application as I'm going to show you. So this is why we used it with the Zustand state management. So what I need to do here, I need to import the schema or the user schema. So I need to update the path of the file. So once we're done with this, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back to the form or the user form dialog.tsx. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the use selected selected user that we created in the hooks folder. And so we're going to destructure it to be able to access to the select and the select user. And also one thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to paste this code, So I need to create, or what I'm going to do, I need to actually change the on open change. So instead of using the open dialog, what I need is when I click on the cancel log, I need to set the selected user back to null. And to be able to do this, I need to create a new function to be able and hook it up with the open change. And this is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to copy the function. So let me get rid from this console.log. And then we are going to get rid from the open dialog state and link it to the on open change. So the reason why I did, as I said, so when the because this it's gonna be implicitly have the open state, and so if we are closing the dialog, we are going to set the selected user back to null. We're gonna clear all the fields, and so otherwise, if we are opening our dialog, so we're gonna call the open on open dialog. So after this, here what I'm gonna do, so we're gonna rely on the selected user state. So if it is not null, it has the object, meaning that we're going to update our user. Otherwise, we're going to have in the title the add user. So if we go, so let's go back to the, sorry. So let's go back to our code, and I'm gonna click on here. So we have the new user, and notice that the fields are completely empty. So if I add this and I click on cancel, so we should see the fields are empty. And to be able to see if the edit user is going to be shown at the top, what we need to do when I click, for example, new or click on an invoice, so this should open the dialog and we should assign the object to the selected user so we can see the information in here, and this is what we are gonna do. So let's go back to and go to the user table section, to the user table section.tsx. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to add this property from the data table component, and we're going to create, so it's going to accept the callback function. And to be able to access to the row that we clicked on, so we're going to use the row property. And I'm going to paste this code here. And as you can see here, we have some errors, so don't worry. So we have this extract text from React node. So basically, so this is a utility type that I'm going to add to be able to access to the information from the row uh, from the each row, but because if I hover over this, as you can see, so so it's a value and a key value object. So the key is the key of each user, and the value is a React node. And to be able to access to the data inside the React node, we're going to use this utility type that I'm going to add in the code. And basically here what we are doing, we are going to find the user based on the user ID. And here I'm going to add the set selected user and the open dialog. And those are very simple. So because we already created them, so I'm going to add the use selected user like this. And I'm going to choose the set selected. And also I'm going to add the other one, which is use open, use open uh, user dialog, and I'm going to choose the open dialog to be able to trigger the opening of the dialog. So the last one that I'm going to add is this utility type to be able to extract the information from the node, and this is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go to I'm going to create a new file called the utils.ts here, utils.ts. So I'm going to paste this code. So this is basically the code that it's going to extract the data from the node. So to be honest with you, this is something that the AI generated. And so we are going to import this from this file. So I'm going to do this extract text from node. So once we did this, so we should see the update of the title of our dialog. So when I click on here, our dialog should open, but we have an error here. So sometimes Next.js throws these errors, and everything looks fine. So we created our functions and we imported them successfully. So I'm gonna restart the server again. So I restarted the server and everything is working fine. So when I click on this row, so as you can see, we have the edit user. So instead of add user, and if I click on add user here, so we can see the add user. So it means that our logic, it worked. So the only thing that I need to update like this title and the description. So the one that I updated after the primary button. So what I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna do the same thing here. I'm going to use the selected user as a condition like this. So if it is true, we are going to choose the edit user. Otherwise, we are going to choose the add user, and I need to put these between curly brackets. And here, we need to update lastly the dialog description. So I'm going to paste this to save time. So I need to put this between curly brackets. So let's get rid from this. So here we are going to, the first message, fill in the information below. And depending on the selected user, if it's not null or not, we're going to use the create a new user. Otherwise, we're going to use the edit a user. So later on, when we start working and adding more code to this, so we are going to add this in an object just to make sure our code is cleaner. So now let's go back to our code or our application. So I'm going to reload the application to see the new updates. So now when I click on the user, so as you can see, we have the edit user. Also, we have the to edit a user and the edit user down in the button. And when I click on the add user, so we're going to have the add user. So this is basically the logic that I use to be able to know whether or to show or update the data. And also we're going to use it when we want to call the functions to create or add the new user to be able to show the information also in the dialog. So this is the logic that I use. So since we have accomplished this successfully, now we are going to start working or adding the functions to be able to add a new user or edit a user. And for this, we're going to use the React query to save us a lot of time. And I think that's a good library to use, especially if you want to work with caching and other many things. That's going to help you a lot especially when you are working with data. So now we are gonna install or use React query. So first thing first, we need to install the package. So this is React query, and I'm going to install the package. I'm gonna paste the npm install and then task tag React query and hit enter. After we installed the package, the first thing that we need to do, we need to create a React query provider. So I'm gonna call the file React query provider like this, .tsx. So I'm gonna paste the code. So it is basically, so here it is a functional component where we are gonna return a React client provider, and we're accepting as a prompt or as an argument the children React node. So meaning that wherever that we are gonna wrap within this functional component, it's going to be a children. And so this needs to be wrapped around all the components inside the layout.tsx. So you can be able to access to all the functionalities, the data, and all the functions of React query in any component in our project. So this is why we're going to create our provider. So once we create the file, so what I'm going to do here, I'm going to add React client provider like this, and then I'm going to take all of these components and put them inside the React client provider. So it seems that there is an issue here, and the problem I think is because I'm importing the wrong component. So React Query Provider, so I think that it is not imported successfully. So let's see what is the error here. And so I think that this need to be in here. And I'm going to put the children inside the query client provider. So I fixed the issue. The reason why, because I've been using the right or the wrong component. So I need to use React query provider instead of this one. So as you can see, the error is gone. And what I'm gonna do, uh, I'm gonna take all of this at the top and then put all the elements within the React query provider like this. So after we set this up, so the next step is we are going to start using React query. So we're going to go to the hooks folder here, and I'm going to create a new file called use user data.js. So I'm going to paste this code. So basically what we're doing here, so let me import or update the path of the user type. And so here we are going to create a fake fetch users. We're going to use the promise, and we are going to use the set timeout to create a fake delay. And then we're going to use this fetch users function inside the query function. So this function, it's going to return use query, and we're going to add the user type as an array to give it context. And we're going to use the query key as users, and the query function, it's going to be this function. And the stale time, it's going to be this. Refresh on window focus, it's going to be false. So we're going to do this for all the functions like adding, updating, and deleting. So when we're going to start working with the database, so all we have to do is just uh, update this fetch users by using the fetch method after creating our endpoint. So that's the power of using React query. So once we've done this, so the next step, so we need to update the table and the other elements like the cards that actually um, use the mock users data that we created, and we need to use we need to use this users data from the use query, and this is what we are going to do next. So let's go back to our code, and we're going to go to the user table section. And here, so we're going to start by the table first, and we are going to call the use user table, and we're going to access the data, and I'm going to change the name of the data as users. And then I'm going to take the users, and I'm going to go to the So I'm gonna go to so it is throwing an error. So it could be undefined. So to be able to fix this issue, and what I'm gonna do first here, so I'm gonna add a fallback. So if the users is undefined, it's gonna be an empty array. And also I'm gonna do the same thing in here. So what I'm gonna do here, so I'm gonna do a condition if the users is not undefined, then I can use this, then I can access to this statement to find the user. Otherwise, otherwise, or you know what? I'm gonna do if statement if users, if it is not undefined, then we can access to this part. And so I'm gonna get rid from this, and the same thing, I'm gonna do this for this one. So as you can see, the error is gone. And now we updated the mock data from the data folder from this user data.jsx. So now it is coming from the use query. So right now it is the same data, but it is coming from the use query rather than it's coming from the array itself, because when we create our database, so it's going to come from the database. Since we're using React query, that's going to access to the fetch users method that is using the fetch method hitting the endpoint to get the data. So this is the kind of idea that we are following. So now we updated this one, this table. So we're going to do the same thing for the all users route. So we're going to go to the page.jsx, and also we are doing the same thing here. So we're using the, so let me look for the rows here. So inside the all users, we're using the all users. So instead of doing this, so we're gonna do the same thing inside the user table. So I'm gonna just copy this code here and paste it in here and import the use user data. So so I'm gonna take this line, put it in here, and I'm gonna add a fallback to avoid throwing an error, because this could be undefined. And then we can use safely the all users. So in this way, I did the same thing for the other table. So one last thing that I need to do, I need to update the state cards. So I'm not going to do it from here, but I need to do it from the start card section. So So to update the cards with the data that is coming from React query, so we're gonna do the same thing here. I'm gonna add the use user data and then data users. And also I need to add the state. So instead of relying on the statistics card, which is still data, so we need to add this inside the state because to be able to, whenever something happens in the users, it's going to be updated in our UI. So we need to use the use state, and this is what we are going to do. So we are going to create a new state here, const, we're going to call it statistic cards like this. Set statistics cards, and I'm gonna add the use state, and I'm going to add the statistic card like this. And the next step, we're going to add the filter methods to be able to calculate each card. And I'm gonna copy this code. So here, what we're doing, sorry, I'm gonna paste this code here, what we're doing. So we're gonna rely on the users. So if it is undefined, so we're gonna calculate how many items inside the user. Otherwise, the fallback it's going to be 0. So for the total admin users, so we're going to use the filter method, and we're going to check if the permission, each user has the permission equal to the admin. Then we're going to calculate how many numbers of them by using the length method, and we're going to convert it to string. And the same thing that we did for the total contributor. And every time that like we do it, so we need to provide a fallback since these users could be undefined. So once we created our uh, once we added the filter methods, then we're going to create a use effect hook to be able to update the statistic cards. And one thing that I want to add here is the type assertion. So it's going to be single card 4 that is coming from the component where we're using this, where we are coming from this stat cards component. So that's going to make our stat cards a lot safer. So now we're going to add the use effect hook underneath this to update the statistic cards. So I'm going to paste this code to save time, and I'm going to explain very quickly what this code is doing. So the reason why we're using this use effect hook and the dependency, so we're gonna depend upon the user. So every time that it changes, so we're gonna run this whole thing. And we are going to update, so we're gonna create a function inside the set statistics card. And we're gonna, since the priv, it's the old data, which is the statistic cards. So it's gonna be an array, of course. And then we are going to access to the title uh, of each card. So if we go back to the statistic card, so the text that title that text, it's gonna be total users. So based on it, we're going to use the switch case method. So based on the card title text, so if it is total users, so we're going to update only the text property. So that's why we're using the spread operator. So the other elements will stay the same. So the only property that we're going to be updating is the text, and it's going to be assigned to the total users. So the same thing that we did for the admin users, and the same thing that we did for the contributor users. And the on-click event listeners, so those are going to be linked to these elements at the bottom. So we're going to add some code in here. So when we click on this, so it's going to take us to the all users page that has all the information. And we're going to add some of the things to be able to actually filter just the contributor users. So this is what we need to do to update this, and also our to make our cards. So to make the cards react to anything that changes in the users. So instead of using this from the mock data, so we need to use this statistic cards in and assign it to the cards. So now we are going to start adding the add functionality. So once we added the React query in our application, so first thing first, we're going to go to the hooks here, and in here I'm going to create a new folder called data functions. And inside this data functions, we're going to add all the functionalities, the CRUD operations, adding and deleting and updating the user. So I'm going to add a new function here, and I'm going to call it add user.js. And in here, I'm going to add a simple function that uses a promise and uses the set timeout. And then we're going to use this function inside the use query. So I'm going to paste this function. Again, I need to update the user type. So as I said, so it's a simple function that uses promise just to simulate the adding the user into the database, and then we're going to use the users that push to be able to add the user inside the users array. And then I'm going to create a new file here, and let's call it use data mutations.js. And here we're going to create all the mutations needed to update by using the use query hook. And this is what we are going to do. So I'm going to paste the function. So first thing first, I need to import the use query client from React query, use mutation, and also I need to import the add user function that we created in the add user.js. So here we're going to use the use mutation from React query. So the mutation function is going to be add user, and on success, so we're going to refresh our users array. So once we added uh, this function to be able to add the user, so we're going to go back to our dialog to be able to add this function. And when we click on the add user, so it's going to be added. So first we need to go to our dialog. So we're going to go to the user dialog form.tsx, and here we're going to add our method inside the onSubmit function. But first I'm going to add a simple if statement here, and we're going to rely on the selected user to be able to know, as we did, whether we are going to add the user or not. So if the selected user is null, meaning that we're going to add the user, so I'm going to add a description, add a user. Otherwise, we're going to update the user. So the next step, I'm going to add some utility functions that we're going to be using in the new user object that we're going to add inside the add user function. So we're going to go to the utils.ts, and I'm going to paste these functions that we're going to be using. So the functions are generate random ID and format join data. So I got them by using AI just to save some time. And so after this, we're going to go back to our user dialog form.tsx, and then we're going to add the code inside the selected user in this block to be able to add the new user. But first, I need to add the use user. So I need to add the user from React query. So instead of using the mock data, and I'm going to add here users. So this is what we're going to work with inside the select user block because we need to actually look for if the users exists. So one of the checks that we're going to be doing inside the select user block to see if it exists or not before we can add the user. And I'm going to paste the code in here. And we need to import some of the things like the toast. So the toast is from React Hot Toast library, so it's already installed in the package. If you use my Next.js generator boilerplate and the Stack website, so this is going to be automatically installed because I added it in the package.json. So I'm going to add this type, and then I'm going to add the utility functions that I added inside the utils.js, and the same thing in here, format joined data. And then we're going to add the add new user from here. So here I'm going to destructure use add user and access to the function. So here we're gonna add mutate async, and I'm gonna call this add new user to be able to access to the user. And so the last thing that we need to add is the close dialog. So this it's going to be added from the use open user dialog to be able to close the dialog, close dialog. And so now all the errors are gone. So I'm going to explain all the code here. So like after we checked if the selected user is not null, so we're gonna find if the user, we're gonna look if the user is already in the user's array, just to avoid if the user exists or avoid duplicates. So if it is found, so we're gonna use the email to be able to check that out. So if it is found, we're going to return users. Otherwise, we're going to return undefined. And if it is undefined users, we're going to show an error, user's email already exists. And then we can safely access to this block. So we're going to create a new user object. So the user ID, it's going to be based on this utility function. So we're going to add all the remaining information from the data. And for the join, so we're gonna use the join format join data to format our data. And for the other remaining properties, we're gonna use them as they are from the data object. So everything goes right, so we're gonna use the toast.promise. And since it is a promise, so we're gonna use the add new user. And so here we have three options. So when we are adding the user, we're going to show the loading state. If it is success, we're going to show this message. Otherwise, we're going to show this error. And then we're going to close our dialog, and we're going to set the selected user as null. So once I did this, so we need to test that out. So I'm going to go to our application, go back to the application. So I'm gonna access to the add user block. So I'm gonna add random information test, and I'm gonna add this email. So let's choose a random location, click on add user. So I think that the user has been added successfully. So if we go to the see more, so as you can see, our user has been added successfully. So now we added the user we can be able to add the new user, then we are gonna work or add the function to update the user. So now we are gonna add the functions to be able to update the user. So as we did for the functions to add the new user, so we're gonna do pretty much the same thing. So we're gonna go to the hooks, and inside the data functions, I'm gonna create a new file called update user.js, and inside of here we're gonna create a simple promise that simulate the updating of the data in the database. So I'm gonna paste this code. So as you can see, it is a simple method with type promise. So it just simulates the async update. And then we're gonna add the use data inside the use data mutation to be able to mutate the users in the use query or mutate the cache. So let's paste the function. So we need to call the update user function, and I'm going to import the user type. So we're gonna link the update user function to the mutate function, and on success, we are gonna do this. So this is throwing an error. Sometimes Typescript throws random errors. So as you can see, the error is gone. So after we created our functions, then we're going to go back to the user. We're going to go back to the user dialog form, and in the onSubmit function, we're going to add the block to be able to update the user. So here is the code, and we need to import update user function. So here we are going to create a new user object, and the only elements that we're going to be changing the email, the full name, the joint, and the location and the permission. So that's why we added the selected user with the spread operator. Like the other elements, like the ID, it's not going to change. And finally, we are going to use, as we did, the toast.promise, and then we're going to close our dialog, and we're going to set the selected as null. And also we are going to add the use effect hook. So when we open our dialog and the selected user is not null, we need to fill all the users. So that's what I'm going to do next. So this is the use effect hook, and I'm going to import, of course, the use effect hook from React. So when the selected user is not null, so we're gonna destructure it to access to all the properties, all the elements, and then we're gonna set the value by using the method function from the use form hook. Otherwise, we're gonna reset all the fields by using the reset function, and then it's gonna be dependent upon the is open state. So let's test this if it's working. So what I'm gonna do next, so also I need to add the ability to actually when so I need to update the drop down to be able to get the copy and the edit and the delete. But if I click on the test, so we should open the dialog. So I should go back to the main page because I didn't add the logic to open in the route to open the dialog. So I'm going to go back to the main page, and when I click on the user, as you can see, all the information related to this user are in the field. So I'm gonna update some of the elements and see that everything is working. I click on edit user. So so if I go back and something is going wrong in here, so let's test this out again and click on edit user. So I think that it is something going wrong with the state. So the state or the cache is not updated. So the reason why it's not updated because I forgot to add the use update user that we added inside the use mutations. So if we go back in here, so I need to do the same thing that we did for the use add user. So that's why we had the error. So I'm going to access to the use update user, and then I'm going to use the mutate async and update user. And also I need to add the is loading state. So here I'm gonna add the is pending, and I'm gonna change the name is adding or add loading, and also I'm gonna update or add the is pending for this use update user update loading. So now inside this block we're gonna use this function, and also we are going to update the buttons so you can see the loading text showing up inside the text of the primary button, but also we're going to see so if the selected user is not null, or what we're going to do here, so this has the button prompts, and the button prompts we can access to the native HTML attribute. And here we're going to add the disable, and the disable, so it's going to be dependent upon adding add load-in or add or updating load-in. So I need to add this. So this is going to be disabled upon this condition, and also we are going to add the same condition, add load-in or update load-in. So if they are true, so we're gonna show load-in, otherwise we're gonna show edit user or add user dependent upon the selected user. So those are the updates that I did as well to be able to update the button when we want to add or update a user. So now we're gonna check this out and see if everything is working, and things should work now. So I'm gonna change the permission, location like this, and click on edit user. So as you can see, we have the button changed to the loading text, and it has been disabled while updating the user, and also the information that we updated has been updated successfully. So now we can be able to update and delete the user. So I think with that we finished with the dialog. So now we are gonna we're gonna add the user, the delete functionality, and we need to update first the, so we need to update the drop down, and to add insert the delete portion, the function to be able to delete the user.